think that's kind of me, is that my signature sound is that I have just this voice that nobody really knows what I'm going to come up with next.
Welcome to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast with Bree Noble. Bree is a musician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Women of Substance Music Radio and Podcast. Bree's interviews with successful female musicians and industry pros are both inspirational and informational. She also answers your questions about the music business. Bree is on a mission to help you create great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business, and to truly become a female entrepreneur musician.
Hey, how's it going? This is Bree Noble, and you are listening to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast, where we discuss strategies on how to make great music, how to connect with your audience, and how to grow your business. I love doing interviews with female musicians who are making it at different levels in the music business, most of which are either full-time musicians or working part-time musicians. And like this artist that I'm interviewing today, they have gotten some serious recognition in the industry. I choose women who I really think have something to share with you guys, some value that they can impart to you to help you with your career. But before we get to the interview, I want to remind you to get your iTunes reviews in for a chance to win 1 month of the Female Musician Academy, and also to go grab our free resource, 19 proven sources of income you probably haven't considered for your music business. That's available right there at femusician.com. That's F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com. And now let's get to our interview with Dede. With over 100,000 fans worldwide, singer-songwriter Dede won the Best Adult Contemporary Album of the Year and the Best Holiday Album of the Year at the 2014 IMEA Awards for her albums Love and Fairy Tales and World of Christmas. She's got a press sheet a mile long of quotes of people that have been really impressed with her voice and her music and her style, as well as all kinds of radio stations that have played her music and other awards that she's won. So I can't even name them all right now, but you will get the gist as I have my conversation with Dede.
So that's a little bit about Dede. Dede, is there anything that's not in your bio that maybe our listeners would like to know about you that's a little more personal?
Well, I thought that I would take this opportunity, Bree, to maybe tell the listeners things that I wish someone had told me when I started out in the music industry, when I was first starting out as an artist. So I will say that I started hearing music around the house when I was just cleaning the house and doing my chores, and I was like singing along with things that were running through my head. And then I realized at some point, this is stuff that I've never heard before. Where's this coming from? And I started dreaming. So dreaming music and dreaming like I was conducting ballets and symphonies and just interesting things that were all related to music. And these were symphonies, ballets, and choreography that I'd never seen before. So my mind was going in a direction, I think, that where I was starting to really get a lot more musical and get a lot more creative. I don't know what the catalyst was for that, but I think it was finally, I'd reached an age where I was really happy with who I was, where I was, and I wasn't just running around all the time trying to just make ends meet and, just running myself ragged. I think I just finally had some time to breathe. And I think that's when the creativity can come in. So I got this gift or this music that started coming to me. So I guess what I could say is, no matter how old you are or where you are in life, you never know what's going to happen, and follow your heart and follow your dreams. I wrote a song called Fairy Tale Song about that, because really it's not about how old you are. It's about really making and doing the things that make you happy. So for me, it was music and being very creative.
That's really cool. And that's inspirational, I think. But clearly you had studied music in the past, because if anyone has listened to you, they can tell that you're classically trained. So tell us how you got started in music.
Okay, well, my family is extremely musical. We have 7 kids in my family, so it's a large family, and every single one of us plays at least one instrument. Most of us are multiple instrumentalists. We all sing, and we all sing pretty well. I mean, everybody knows how to sing harmonies, parts. We all sight read music. So it's kind of in our family gene. I think that there is a genetic tendency to be more musical or more artistic, and that can follow through families. And my father's family is from Wales. So Welsh people like Catherine Zeta-Jones, they're very, very, very musical performers, storytellers. I have a sister named Missy Pyle, who's also an actress out in LA. She sings, plays guitar, and she's quite a well-known actress. She was in Gone Girl. She played the Nancy Grace character. So all of us have this like performing gene, I think. And we were raised in like church music. My dad was a part-time church music director when we were little. So we all learned to sing from a very young age, and we learned to sing harmonies. And then when we got to be, second, third, fourth grade, we all took piano. That was one of the things that was kind of standard. We always had a piano in our house. Our family was, somebody was always playing an instrument, playing the piano. My older sister played flute, Julie. She's to this day a concert pianist and works with handicapped children with music. So she's found her dream and made that come true for herself. And I followed in her footsteps. I took piano and I played flute. And then I have another sister out in LA who is singing kind of professionally on the side. And my mom is a singer as well and played the piano. So I think, if it comes naturally to you, it's a fun thing to do. And it's something that you can do for the rest of your life. And it doesn't have to be full time. It could be something you do on the side for fun, or you could take a chance on it, see if it's something that you could do full time, like what I'm doing, what you're doing, and make it something that's a career.
Awesome. Wow. That's a lot of huge musical family there.
Yeah. It's intimidating.
Yeah, I can understand that. So at this point, do you consider yourself a full-time musician, or are you getting some of your income from another part-time gig? How are you working out your, paying your bills and everything? Is it all from music, or are there some other things?
Right now, I'm definitely a full-time musician, and I'm doing this, full-time. And so it's a lot of work, obviously. So it does take time. I do, however, still make a little bit on the side working with my husband's company. I'm doing a little bit of marketing and some meeting planning for him, as well as traveling and travel planning for him. So, there's just a little bit, maybe 5 or 10 hours a week. So I am making a little something on the side. And this is really finally, I'm in my almost 4th year of being a full-time singer-songwriter. And this is the year that I finally started to make some actual money, because it's very expensive, as you know, especially when you're starting out. So about 4 years ago when I started, of course, it's a huge cash outlay to record albums, CDs, that kind of thing, and buy all the equipment that you need. Sound equipment is a definite must. And there's also things like, headsets and microphones and all kinds of things that you don't think about that you need. So, and then the travel, there's a lot of gas and time in your car. So you have to have a really good method of transportation to get to bookings and shows. It's very not only time consuming to do this right, as you know, but it's also expensive. So you're going to see yourself probably with a big cash outlay at the first couple of years. It's most of the people I talk to who are doing this full time now have spent at least 2 years trying to make money. And then it's usually the 3rd, 4th, or 5th year that things really start to turn around.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, hopefully you can make money in your first year. It depends on what kind of recordings you're doing. I know yours have been like really, stellar players and high quality and, everything. And that's all really good. But sometimes, people just need to start out and get something out there that's good quality, but maybe not like top quality, and just get going and get making some money. And, so there's different routes for sure. And obviously what you're putting out is like top notch.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah. I specifically have really tried to always get really great recordings, because to me, this is not just what I'm doing for music right now. This is a legacy I'm leaving, and I really want what I leave behind to be great. But I know there are other routes you can go. You can record in your own home. You can, if you know Pro Tools, or if you know GarageBand even, or a similar program that you can just use at your house. You could buy just a nice mic and you could record at home. It really depends on your connections. I didn't have a lot of music connections in Houston, where I live, where I started. And so, if you live like, let's say Nashville, and you have a band and one of your band members has a garage studio, of course that would be way cheaper to record. And if you have a friend who knows Pro Tools and will record your stuff and just do it kind of on the side, or somebody who's studying and interning in a studio, those are great routes to go if you can. But for me, I just didn't have a lot of the recording and music connections here. Houston's kind of interesting because there are tons of talented musicians here. There's a lot of talent, but there's not a huge industry here. So there's not like a lot of management, not a lot of what I would call like getting started type of booking agencies and things like that. So it's a lot of it you have to do on your own. So for me, it was a real challenge to find great production, and I was really more interested in finding stellar production. So for me, I could put out. I had saved a little money because I'd worked my way through college, and I had worked in the corporate world for 10 or 12, 15 years. So I had some money put away, and plus I'm married, so it's nice to have someone to share expenses with. So everybody has their own unique situation, and you just have to kind of do what's good for you. But like, let's say you're a solo act and you play guitar, that's way cheaper than getting a band because you get to keep all that money on your bookings. So there's just so many different ways that people do this, and I think each situation is unique, and you have to just kind of do what's right for you.
For sure. So we have a lot of struggling musicians that are listening to this show. Do you have any advice that you can give them? Like, actually, not even just advice, but like just a story maybe about a time where you were just really frustrated. You were hitting a wall. You felt like maybe you were going to give up, but then you pushed through that, and you got to where you are today. Just give them something a little encouraging, a little story that they can maybe really identify with.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I wish someone had told me when I started out how hard it is in the music industry. People would always say, "Oh, it's so hard. It's so competitive." And I'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And I just kind of blew it off. And not to sound like, this is really, really all that tough. It's wonderful and fun, and I'm very happy. But honestly, I've done a lot of jobs, Bree, and this is the hardest job I've ever done. It requires every skill and every bit of strength, energy, patience, creativity that I could possibly muster. But it's also the most absolutely fulfilling job that I've ever done. I just love what I'm doing. I love meeting people. I love listening to music and playing music and getting in that zone. And I love hearing music and just getting to know other artists and producers. And it's just been fantastic. So you have to love music. Let's put it that way. If you're doing this for the money, you're really not in it for the right reasons. If you're doing this for the fame, same thing. You have to love music, because there's going to be days that, like you said, I've probably had 4 or 5 times since I started doing this full time almost 4 years ago, where I really tried to quit. My husband's talked me out of it. And I was crying or struggling. I've been there. And my first 2 years, I would say, were really, really hard because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no understanding of the industry. And I could just say one time I had a producer, and he was very hard on me. This was my first producer, and it's not anyone that was on any of the albums that I have now, so you wouldn't know who this guy is, but he's from Houston. And I was crying literally in the recording booth because I had said something that he didn't like, and it wasn't anything bad. It was just like, I don't like the way that could we talk about that bass, or it was just something about like the bass is not playing the right line, and he just blew up and lost it and just like laid into me and said he was going to send me home and started yelling at me. I was like, and I started just bawling, and I called my husband. I'm like, I think you need to come here. So that experience was really hard. I've had several experiences kind of like that. I've forgotten lyrics in the middle of a song in a show, just like completely. And I think you just have to remember that this is fun. This is a creative process. Things are going to happen. It's involving people and bands and musicians. We tend to be very sensitive people, and you have to have a good sense of humor. I also had an experience recently where I was involved in a musical group that was local, and the women in the group in particular, and this was kind of a religious music group, just kind of did not understand where I was coming from wanting to be a professional musician. They just didn't like that, so not everybody's in your court all the time, as you may have noticed. And I don't mean to sound negative, but I'm just being real here. And you've got to understand that there's tons of people that will support you and care for you and love you and be there for you, but there's some that won't like your music. And I got kicked out of a group and here I am, this singer with all these fans, and so it can happen, and you just have to dust yourself off. I was like devastated for a couple of weeks. I told my husband I was going to quit, and he's like, "No, you're too good. You have too much talent. I'm not letting you quit." So find somebody that you can talk to, find somebody that believes in you, and get involved with your fans. Get those letters. It's just one fan coming up to me saying, that song that you wrote, Psalm on Danny Boy, it really touched me when my son was sick, or, I was in the hospital. It's just so wonderful to hear those kinds of things and hold on to that, because that'll get you through the tough times. I actually wrote a song called Stronger. It's based on what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's coming out in my new album, Dream of You, in about a month. But listen to that song. I think I've got it posted online on Reverb Nation, a demo version. But listen to that song, because that's my experience of getting kicked out of that group. And it didn't kill me. It made me stronger. You just have to have a good sense of humor. You have to believe in yourself and have a support network of other musicians, friends, and family that do believe in you, that can get you kind of through those times, because it'll happen. And just remember that this is a long-term thing. This isn't a short-term, hey, you're going to be a sensation overnight. It takes time. I mean, it takes, Bree, you can tell me if you agree with this, but a lot of people have told me it takes anywhere from 3 to 4 years all the way to 10, 12 years, and sometimes even 15, 20 to get noticed in the industry, especially if you're doing a lot of this on your own, like, and being an independent musician like so many people are today. It just takes time. So, but remember that, and just do it for the love of it. Don't do it for like the approval of people, because there's going to be people that love your music. There's going to be people that don't, and that's okay. Focus on the ones who do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, no matter how good it is that your stuff that you're doing and you have the greatest heart and everything, you're going to have some haters out there. I mean, there's just people that want to hate on you, and right. It's very frustrating. And you remember what the haters say so much more than like the 50 other people that loved it. And I hate that we're that way. I hate that we focus on that.
And it's funny because I've even had that from fellow musicians that, once you start making it, they're a little funny towards you too sometimes. So just find the ones that aren't that way, because there's lots more people that are wonderful, and focus on that. And just keep in mind that, you have to be unique in your music too. You can't be like anybody else. And so the more you try to be like, copy another singer, like, I won't mention names, but very famous country singer who's now doing pop. Name starts with a T, ends with an S, SWIFT. Yeah, a lot of people are trying to emulate her sound right now because she's so famous. And just be yourself. I mean, my music when I first came out was totally different. I was trying to be like the female Michael Bublé. Well, that didn't really work so well for me. I should have just been Dede Wedekind and not focused on worrying about who I sounded like and what kind of genre I was trying to be. Just do the genre that works for you, right? And my other advice is write your own music. The best advice I can give is just be unique and have your own sound. Because for the first year or two, people looked at me and they were kind of like, she's really different. Now people are looking at me going, wow, she's really different. So it kind of comes around, and it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you. What do you think makes you unique as an artist?
Okay, well, cool. Well, I think the fact that I am classically trained is kind of different, because most classical people can't sing pop. And when I was singing classical, I always loved pop and Broadway, and I loved the lighter music. And so I got away from all that. And so now it's like I love artists like Sarah Brightman and Celtic Women and Celine Dion and people like that, but I also have gained a new appreciation for artists like Adele and Ellie Goulding and people like that just have more of a laid back, really cool pop voice. And it's funny because the first, like, I would say 3 years of singing, I got a lot of comments. Oh, you sing definitely like you have a classical edge. But for some reason, like year 4, this is my year, man. I'm really coming into my own. I'm letting a little bit of that country accent come out in my music finally, which I have,
Mm.
obviously. Not a big Texas draw, and I'm not like a big country singer, but I do have a little bit of a draw, and I'm letting that into my music. And people are really loving it. They're relating to it. They're like, oh, she sounds a little bit like Shania and a little bit like Taylor and like an Eva Cassidy, and they like that folksy sound that I have, and that's really uniquely me. But then I have this range that I could sing high and low, and I could do like a Karen Carpenter sound, which is also kind of cool. And so I've got that husky kind of deep voice. So I think for me, it's the fact that I have a really kind of a unique voice. I don't sing like in that little girly voice that so many people are using now. I sing in just a Dede voice, and I'm just me, and I don't try to be anybody else. And I think that's kind of what's my signature is that I have a great range. Fortunately, I've been gifted with that, and that I could sing, a nice variety of different kinds of music, from more pop to more classical. I think that's kind of me. Is that my signature sound is that I have just this voice that nobody really knows what I'm going to come up with next.
Oh
So,
yeah, I think your versatility is your strength for sure. And
exactly.
when I first heard you, I'm like, oh, she's a nice, Christian pop singer or a pop singer, different stuff that you were doing. And then you came out with your Christmas album. And I was like, okay, like we're kindred spirits because I'm classically trained as well, but I also have that kind of low range that I can do that's more of a pop sound, but then I sing. So when you sang Ave Maria, I was like, yeah, like totally on the same page here with this because
Thanks.
I
And you have a
love that
beautiful
you're.
voice. I love your voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love that you can do different stuff. And what's great about that is you can play to completely different audiences. You could go to
Right.
one audience and do all show tunes and classical music because that's what they love. And then you can go and do a whole nother show of all your like pop country stuff. And it's going to bring in a lot
Exactly.
more streams of income, I think.
That's cool. I'm glad you said that because I actually have been singing with kind of more of a country band lately. I never thought I would, but I actually love the new country music that's out is kind of like the pop music from the 80s, which is what I was raised with. And so I
Me too.
love a lot of the new music. And it sounds a lot like pop now, and a lot of it is pop and rock. It's really not that country. So it's been so fun for me to learn some of these songs and do some Crystal Gale and Dolly Parton and some of the new stuff like Miranda Lambert. And it really isn't what I set out to do, but I'm finding that in Houston, there's a huge market for it. So you're right. Exactly. It's like I can do shows that other people can't do. Like I got a call about 2 years ago to do this huge show in River Oaks, which was really exclusive. And they wanted a Broadway singer that could also really project. So I actually was able to do like Evita and some cool stuff like that. And Phantom of the Opera. And I love doing that kind of stuff, but I don't like to do it all the time, but it's so fun to just do it. And I also write inspirational music. So I've been asked to sing at churches and weddings. Like you mentioned Ave Maria, I also wrote Canon on the Lord's Prayer, and I wrote Psalm on Danny Boy. Some of my music tends to be very comforting and very inspirational. And so I do have a lot of venues that I can choose from to market myself. And I think it's something that's really important is you have to find your niche. And my niche is kind of doing crossover inspirational pop with a little bit of a American music, folk sound and country sound. So I've been calling it Ameri-Folk-Pop, which is kind of cool. And I made my own genre up because there really wasn't anything out there that described what I do. It's like inspirational Ameri-Folk-Pop.
I love that.
So, yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what has winning awards done for you? You have won a lot of awards, and it looks really great on your bio. What has it done for you as far as opening doors?
Well, in some cases, it's opened a lot of doors, and in some cases, it hasn't at all. But I can tell you one thing, Bree, it's made me feel a lot better and validated me as a singer-songwriter, which I think is really important because it's so hard to find people that are going to go, hey, you're fantastic, Bree Noble. I just love what you do. Here, let me give you a whole bunch of money and book you for all these shows. That's hard to find. So if you have that, great. But most of us don't. And so just anything that can make you feel better about what you're doing and getting a certificate. I won the Dallas Songwriting Contest. I was second place in 2 categories for their annual contest last year. And they actually sent me money. And I was like, yay, money, because I know it's not like cool to want money, and be your primary focus, but it's cool to get money, and we all need money. And it really is in music, your validation to get bookings and get paid. And so to win these awards, there's been a couple of things I'll say about it too, in addition to what I've already said. I'm sorry, I'm kind of long-winded, but it's really important to know that when you apply for these awards, there are some really big names, labels, producers, and songwriters and artists that are judging some of these contests, like the International Acoustic Music Awards, the International Songwriting Contest, which I think I've finaled in at least twice. There's also the UK Songwriting Contest. I've been a finalist in that once or twice. And Song of the Year, and I've been a finalist in that for one of my new songs. It's called Prime of Life, which is from my new album. It's a very honest folk type song. But it's just so gratifying to get that notice that, hey, we think you're a good songwriter and you have real potential here. So I encourage you, if you can, to submit to as many awards as you can once you've produced a couple of songs or an album that you've got that you think you have some good originals. And, if you don't win, that's okay. But just keep trying, because it's very validating and you will get industry attention from some of the people that are in the industry. And I've actually gotten contacted by Stuart Epps, who is Elton John's producer in the UK, and other producers that are pretty well known who've wanted to work with me. And I wish I could afford to work with them all. It's expensive to work with some of these guys because you have to pay them. But if you don't have a label, you're an independent artist, you pay for your own recording. But it's just wonderful to get that validation. And it's also nice to get a little money and recognition, and also be able to put it on your music resume and your sites. Social media is so important. So if you have anything that you've done and accomplished, like I just played House of Blues New Orleans, which is kind of a bucket list thing for me. Oh, you bet. I put all that on my social media and really invited people to my shows, really tried to get the fans involved. So anything like that, when I win an award, I'll post it, because that's really important for your fans to know your success. They're very happy for you when you have successes, and they're really supportive. And it really makes it great.
I agree. I mean, it is really good to have them on your resume. Like whenever I'm introduced places, I've got those few awards that I've won, and some of them I don't even mention. I just realized, but just to be able to have people say that about you before you get on the stage, they instantly snap to attention. Like, ooh, somebody thinks she's good, Right. So I think it's important to have those, but I also agree with you about getting the money, because, a lot of these don't have money that come with it, but I actually won a Christmas holiday song award once, and I got $500, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, good.
And that's a lot of money for those of you who don't know. To win an award at 500 is really huge. So congratulations.
Yeah, there's not a lot that give out that one. So I was really happy about that. But so on that note, what is an example of maybe one of the most mind-blowing experiences you've had in your music career so far? One of those times where you're like, pinching yourself thinking, I can't believe this is happening to me.
Yeah, those are the moments that you treasure. You just want to hold on to that, because you're going to have dry spells where you don't have those moments, and you have to hold on to that and remember and refresh that for yourself. But yeah, I've had 2 really great ones that come to mind. The first one is I joined this organization called the IMEA. I encourage all of you who are recording artists to join. It's just a newer kind of almost like a Grammy award for independent artists. It's called International Music and Entertainment Association, and they have award shows once a year. And I just, on a kind of a whim, I was on Reverb Nation. Get on as many of these sites as you can. Broad Jam's a good one for songwriters. Reverb is great for recording and touring and playing artists. I just, on a whim, joined the IMEA because they had like a special discount where it was only $35. So I joined it last year at the beginning of the year. And then they said, well, submit your songs. We're having our second annual awards. They've only been around now 3 years. This was 2 years into it. And so I submitted like everything I had because I just happened to have 2 albums releasing in 2013. And so you could go back a year and submit everything from the prior year. And that's pretty much the standard rule for most of the contests. You could submit stuff that's, usually a year or so old. So you don't want to like submit stuff that's way old unless, you never released it or they don't have a rule like that. But anyway, so this was like stuff that had been in a prior year or up to that date. So I submitted Love and Fairy Tales, which was my album from 2013 that released in July. And then I also submitted World of Christmas, which Reese mentioned. And I'm really proud of World of Christmas because the Grammy producer did that one. His name's Jeff Bova. He was fantastic. He just really helped me a lot. And I'm really proud of the diversity of the songs, like Bree mentioned. But I thought, well, I might have a shot. And then I also submitted a whole bunch of individual songs. And when I got the feedback from them and the notice from the IMEA, they said, you are nominated in 9 categories, and including 2 albums of the year. And I was like, what? Artist of the year, album of the year. And I was like, whoa. And song of the year in like, I think 6 or 7 categories. It was unbelievable. So that was another one of those pinch me moments. And so I did make the effort to go to the awards show, which was all the way in Kentucky at the Paramount Arts Theater, which is actually this really cool theater that you've probably heard of or never heard of, but a lot of big acts play there because it's like in the middle of this coal mining area. And so a lot of the country and bluegrass performers are from that area. It's really cool. And it's a great theater. And he honors Colt Chambers is the one who's the president. He's like 20 years old. He's just this incredible guy. I mean, who would do this when they're 20? It's amazing. I mean, to me, it's like worth it just to be a part of the organization to support Colt. But he holds this huge event every year. This one's going to be in Atlanta in October on the 24th. I'm actually singing this year. So I went to the event. I dragged my husband along. We're in the middle of Nowheresville, Kentucky, driving a rental car from Columbus, Ohio. And we get there and there's all these artists. It was so great just to meet the artists and go to the dinner and then go to the show. And I actually won 2 albums of the year at the show itself. And that was like giving the acceptance speeches on stage. I got called up for the first one for Love and Fairy Tales. I was like, thanks. I went and sat down thinking I'll never win anything else. And then I got called up again for Song of the Year from, it was Canon on the Lord's Prayer from World of Christmas. And so I got that award. I'm giving another speech. And then by the 3rd award, I'm like, I know y'all are sick of me being up here talking to you. It was like, pitch me. And it was just an amazing moment. And I think that was like the moment in my career where I realized I can't quit at this. This is something I really have to pursue and keep doing because it's something that people are appreciating now. And they're seeing that there's something there with Dede. And I actually got nominated again for 2 songs already this year. So that was really cool. And I'm going to be going in October, like I said. And I, even if I don't win, I don't really care. It's just to go and support Colt and all the other artists, friends that I've met now that are just amazing musicians. I can't wait to go see them again because they're just such great people. So this is how you build your network. It's really important as an artist to build your network. And another story I'll just share briefly is another stellar moment and unbelievable moment in my career was I just got back from Nashville last weekend to finish my recording for Dream of You. And I met through my booking manager and my general development manager out in LA, who's known everybody and worked with Hillary Duff and all these great people. Kevin, he knows Andrew Fromm, who wrote all the music for NSYNC's Millennium album, and he's on 50,000 albums. He's a huge songwriter, and he played actually as Bree might have already mentioned, he played one of my new songs. He and I just went to a room together. We got to know each other. He was fantastic. I just love him as a person. He's a great musician, but even better than that, he's just a really cool person and a great songwriter. And just to be in the room with him while he's playing my song by ear, you had to pick it up by ear. So I'm giving him all the chords as he's playing. I'm shouting out the next chord and kind of had to sit down and play some of the way I felt it. Then he took over and he just did a phenomenal job. So that was like pinch me. And Kevin got a video of us working together. So I'm like so excited to hopefully get that video and post it on my social media. Cause I mean, Andrew doesn't even play the piano anymore. He's so amazing. He's like this huge high level producer guy that everybody knows. He's like a businessman and he's like a mover and a shaker in the industry out there in Nashville. So to get to meet him, that was just huge. And then have him play on my album, it's like, whoa. And he played Love Is, which is a song I wrote to help promote peace and unity in the world. And it's loosely based on Corinthians 13. And I also played it at the memorial service and sang it at the memorial service for my stepson in May. So that was it's all about love. It's an anthem and a dedication to love. So
wow,
I'm really excited.
So I want to hear more about your new album because I've heard little bits and pieces. So where did you record it, and what's kind of the general theme of the album?
Well, this album is all about Dede's personal experiences that she's had in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, we kind of were looking at like, where is my niche? Because like you said, there's so many different things I do. I do country and pop and Americana and classical and neoclassical and jazz and folk. And where do I fit? And what Kevin came to me and he said, where I see you and why I wanted to work with you is because you're an older artist. And I don't mean old, but I'm not 20, I'm not 25, I'm not even 30. I'm getting older, and he said, but there's my sister. He said, my sister's 42 and she can't find anybody on the radio that she really relates to. She doesn't want to hear about, I'm never getting back with you or, anything like that. Cause she's like a mother and a wife and a career woman. And he said, the only choices she has are to listen to like some of the new easy listening stuff that, Sarah Bareilles is coming out with and that kind of stuff, or the oldies that she listened to when she was in high school and college. And he said, there's just nobody making honest, real music about, as we're getting older, life, the changes we go through. So that's where my new niche is, actually. It's so funny that you ask. And this album is all about getting real. It's about growing older and being okay with that. It's about how your life changes as we go through different stages in our lives. Like Prime of Life is all about the seasons of life. And it's the first line is, might have took some time to get me to this place. When I look in the mirror, these changes I see so hard to embrace. So it's just really taking a hard look at where you are, but being okay with that and actually being happy with that and being content. So it's giving everybody hope that, life never ends. It just keeps changing. And so like Love Is a song in the last line of Love Is love never dies. True love never dies, but it lives on in every loving heart and life. So it's about how seasons change, life changes, and it's okay. We're here by the grace of God. We're here just doing the best we can. Find your dream, make them come true. Hold fast to what you believe in and don't give up. Like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is about don't give up, don't end things and don't be stupid, don't focus on the bad, focus on what's beyond that because everything changes and things will get better, and, we all have seasons. So that's kind of what the album's about. And there's even a tribute, if you will, to the music industry and to getting burnt in life. And how many of us have been burnt, right? And it's called
all of us.
It's a soul kind of very Rolling Stones kind of song called Sell Me Out. And it's great. I just love that song. Kevin didn't want to put it on the album.
Cool.
I was like, we're putting it on the album. Because, we all have those days when we just want to, scream and throw something. But that's kind of what that's about, is when you get really burnt by somebody like a business partner or a guy or a woman or, whatever, a friend. Anyway, a job.
I like that. I like your new niche. That's cool because I'm 43 and I know what you're talking about as far as not necessarily having stuff on the radio that you can identify with.
And I'm in that age range too, and I can totally relate to everything that you've discussed and we've talked about.
Now, I wanted to ask you, I've noticed that you've been blogging a lot lately. Are you finding that that's a good way to connect with your fans and potential fans?
Yes. And in fact, blogging, I think, can be the number one way to reach people. But it's not just sending out blogs, it's also reading other blogs and getting blog partnerships with sites that have a lot of listeners. So, if you can find a blog that's funny or another music blog or a mommy blog or just anything music review site, try to get your album reviewed on there. Try to do a giveaway on a giveaway blog site and try to post like a newsletter to your fans once a month. Try to blog at least once a month. I've been kind of bad lately, but I do have a blog and it's on Blogspot and it's called Music Stuff by Dede, I think is the name of that one. But it it does kind of the more real you can be too with your blogs and not just talk about your career and your music, but just talk about your life. And that goes for Facebook. It's really important to have a Facebook fan page, not just a Facebook page where you actually collect fans, and be sure you collect emails because like on Reverb Nation, they have an email sign up. So I just steer everybody toward that because I found that to be the easiest one for me to use. I tried to do like MailChimp and all that, but and some people use that as their emailer, and it works great. But for me, just having a site like a fan collector where they could sign up to be your fan, then send them monthly news. Don't overwhelm them weekly or daily because they'll be like, and they'll probably unsubscribe. But once a month, but the most important things like, here's what happened to me. Here's what's going on in my life. Here's what my thoughts on summer, spring, fall. Here's something cool that happened to another artist friend of mine. Just things like that are interesting. That's what people want to hear. And my other advice is like on Facebook and Twitter, don't only post stuff about you and where you're playing. Don't only post stuff to try to push your music and promote yourself, because people just want to get to know you. They don't necessarily want to know what your next song is and here's my new album, please buy it. They want to get to know you. So I repost a lot of cool stuff from other people. I try to do a lot of cross promoting with other musicians. Like this is a perfect example. I try to do a lot of blog reviews and other things like that. So the more of that kind of stuff you could do in social media is so important, and that helps drive your fans to shows. So take out a Facebook ad when you have a show. Take out a Facebook ad or a Reverb ad when you do a show or you have a new album. It's awesome. Or you have a song you want to get out. Just take out an ad. Drive people to your sites. Do a like ad. If you have the money to do it, it really is worthwhile.
Absolutely. I was just having this conversation with some ladies in my Female Music Academy the other day about the right ways to engage with your fans and how many times you should send your newsletter. And I'm always harping on, get those email addresses and, get people on your fan email list so you can engage with them, because
right.
Otherwise, they're going to move on to another artist. But if you're kind of on their radar all the time on a regular basis, not overwhelming them, like you said, that is how you're going to connect with your fans.
Exactly. And what I do at shows is I'll put an email list by my door with my cards, or I'll also have like a little fishbowl. And I'll say, I'll have my CDs up there with like a little ribbon on them or in a bag with a little balloon or something, just really cool that'll catch their attention. And it'll say like, get a free CD, free drawing for, just drop your card in the bag or drop your card in the bowl, or I'll have like a little, piece of paper or business, like a little, what do they call them? The business cards. And I'll just have like name, email, and be sure you collect their fan emails at your shows, because those are your fans that are going to come back and see you, and that's your hardcore fans. And when you sell a CD, definitely get a card or get them to give you their email address so that you can contact them when you have your next CD coming out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I used to do that at shows. I would do a giveaway and just gather people's email, name, email, and zip code usually, and then do a drawing. And I really built my email list that way.
Yeah, I've got like 5,000 on my email list right now because I've really been building it. But also,
that's great.
So the other thing is, don't spam people. They don't like that.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, be careful when you're getting emails that you subscribe to a good email list that will send out, and at the bottom it'll say unsubscribe here, so that if somebody doesn't want to get your information, they could just go ahead and unsubscribe.
Absolutely. Well, we are almost to the end of our show. I do want to ask you, though, do you have any books that you could recommend that have really helped you either in songwriting, in music business, or even in self-help or development, personal development?
Right. That's a great question. I did look at one. It's called Murphy's Laws of Songwriting. And I got this. It's by Ralph Murphy. It's called The Book.
Oh yeah, Ralph Murphy. He's good.
Yeah. I went to a conference, and if you can go to a music conference, it's not too far from where you live, or you've got a little cash to go, I really recommend you go to at least one or two to meet people. And he was at the ASCAP one. And that was in LA. I think they do it every year in LA. And I bought this, and it's really cool because it's taught me how to be a better songwriter. And if I could say one word of advice to you guys, write your own music, work with other people who are great writers as much as you possibly can, and learn how to write songs. I've got a blog actually out there about songwriting. So you can check out my blog. Just do a search on Dede, Dede Wedekind, Dede Wedekind. And you should be able to pull up all my sites. Just go to my blog and search through the blogs, and you'll find the one about how to be a better songwriter. I give a lot of advice about also starting out as a musician. There's some advice. So just check out my blog, and please friend me and like me. It's really important to support your musician friends and like their Facebook, watch their YouTubes, subscribe, just be as supportive as you can, because what they'll do is they'll like and subscribe back and follow you back. And it's wonderful how that works. And you get to actually get some extra friends too, not just musicians, but friends and people that you can work
Absolutely.
with, tour with, and open with, or they could come to visit you and open for you. So put together tours with them. It doesn't have to be a big tour. It could be a house concert. It could be playing at a church, or playing at a restaurant, and just have some fun.
Awesome. I love that advice. Yeah, networking with other musicians is super key.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to post all of your social media on our show notes. So if people want to connect with Dede, you can just go to FEMusician.com and pull up Dede's episode, and you will find all of her social media. And also, what is your website, just so they know, in case they want to go right now and check it out?
Well, when I picked the name Dede as my nickname, because I really am Deborah Wedekind, but I wanted some people could remember. There were only 2 or 3 Dedes. Now there's 150 million Dedes, and it's DEDE, and I had to put -music.com. So that's my website. So if you just do a search on Dede, you may or may not find me. So you have to get either the Dede-music, or you have to do Dede Wedekind, or you could just do Dede Wede, WEDE, and it probably will pull me up.
Yeah, it's a pain when you've got a name that's too common.
Right.
Luckily for me, there's not really anyone else named Bree Noble out there. So
cool. Yeah,
I lucked out, and it is my name. Some people always think it's a stage name. Nope, that's actually my name. But yeah, it's a pain when you have a name that's common. Yours, it's not that bad, but if your name is Jill
Laura
Smith or something, yeah, it's a problem.
Mary.
So Mary, yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for all of the great advice that you've given people today. I mean, you definitely have a wealth of information to share in the 4 years that you've been doing music. You've really gotten in there and gotten your hands dirty, and just been scrappy and made it happen, and it's really paying off now. So I cannot wait to listen to your new album, and I'm sure that all your fans are going to absolutely love it.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to email me with questions, you can either follow me on Twitter and send me a private message, or you can also follow me on Facebook, like me on Facebook, and I think it's Dede Wedekind on Facebook, and just message me, and I honestly answer every single email that I get. So if you have a question or you just want to get to know me, please contact me. I'd love to hear from you. Bree, you've been awesome too. You're a great mentor, and again, everybody should just get out there and get a mentor, because that's what it's all about. You gotta get in the trenches and really just do it and get advice. So this is a great step that you're helping other musicians, female musicians with, Bree. So we really appreciate it.
Thank you. I love doing it. Thanks again, and I will talk to you again soon.
Yeah, take care, and thanks again, fans, and y'all take care, and God bless.
Now go out and make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. Female Entrepreneur Musician has been brought to you by femusician.com and femalemusicianacademy.com. With editing by Jen Eads of 317 Sound Design and music by Stella Ronson.